This exceptional group of 25 local authorities from around the world have and will continue to shape the Strong Cities Network.
But today, we have a different approach. Through the Strong Cities Network being unveiled today, we're making the first systematic effort in history to bring together cities around the world to share experiences, to pool all of our resources, and to forge partnerships in order to build local cohesion and resilience on a global scale.
The Strong Cities Network is a network focused on supporting cities to prevent all forms of violent extremism. It is important to remember that while attention is currently focused on ISIS and the challenge of foreign fighters, the threat of other forms of violent extremism, not least extreme right-wing groups, remain critical and of critical concern to local authorities around the world and the communities that they represent.
This is, I think, therefore a fitting place to talk about the launch of the Strong Cities Network and what it can mean and what it can achieve. This network is different. It is unlike any other effort that we've seen before.
I have for a long time believed that international institutions should be doing far more to integrate cities into global governance.
We will send a message from all of our voices about who we are and about what we aspire to be as an alliance of nations and a global community.
A deadly ambush amid a large concentration of police.
And that's risen to something that has never occurred in this country.
Have we reached a tipping point here?
I think this is very, very significant. For this kind of an attack on their psyche is going to definitely have consequences in how they do their job.
Many residents are now too afraid to speak on camera, but say in the past 6 months it's been getting worse.
We've lived here for 51 years, and the way the place has got in the last 4 or 5 years, I wouldn't know. It's very sad, but we're just about ready to get out of here.
Someone been shot? Too many lately?
Now we've been watching coverage like this of intense violence over and over and over again.
Elsewhere, tensions are running high across America as more protests are held over the killing of black men by police. Demonstrators shut down major roads in several US cities on Saturday, leading to arrests, scuffles and confrontations between law enforcement and activists.
Across the country, protesters and police clash, with Black Lives Matter groups organizing large demonstrations.
Breaking news out of the US, where there's been another fatal shooting of law enforcement officers.
There's apparently an active shooter.
Yes, after another community joins a growing nationwide list of mass shootings, authorities are still sorting out how a routine court appearance went terribly wrong. An inmate took an officer's gun and shot 4 people.
I was just paralyzed in disbelief, couldn't believe what was going on, and with everything that's been going on in Dallas and across the nation right now, it was just upsetting to see this right in our own backyard.
That's not very common where officers are being fired upon, on a daily basis, but absolutely it's alarming to all of the members that I represent.
In the span of 16 hours, D.C. police were shot at by suspects in 2 separate incidents.
At 5:30, Gaston County police say they are seeing a spike in homicides. Officers there say there have been more this year so far than the combined totals of the previous 2 years.
Wow. Well, hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Let's get right to it. The number of murders has spiked in Minnesota, up 58% in 2015.
The numbers across the state, though, are startling. Violent crimes, including rape, robbery, and aggravated assault, were up 7.6%.
According to Cincinnati Police crime stats, the problem extends beyond Westwood. In District 3, which includes Westwood, 12 homicides in 2016. It's a 33% increase than the same time last year. Adding to the concern, an increase in robberies and aggravated assaults.
It's not the norm. It's something that we don't want to accept.
Troubling signs of a crisis in the city involving synthetic marijuana. Police say 33 people had to be hospitalized today in Brooklyn as they try to prevent the problem from spiraling out of control.
It was a bizarre scene. Dozens of people with blank stares stumbling around a Brooklyn neighborhood yesterday.
This is crazy.
Brian Arthur live streamed it on Facebook.
As I'm walking up the block, I see everybody laid out on the floor, and everybody's just stumbling all over the place. It looked like a scene out of a zombie movie.
Designed to mimic marijuana, the man-made drug has far more powerful effects.
With what appears to be K2 overdoses. Pixel 11 News cameras captured 4 individuals who were completely out of it. Medics tended to some, while others, like this lost soul, was barely able to stand.
It's a shame that New York come to this, man. They got to do something, you know. The mayor got to do something about this epidemic.
Customers. I've been here 24 years, and I've never, ever seen it this bad. Something is going on.
This is like the show The Walking Dead. This is it. The only thing, this is the real thing over here. Walking zombies.
In previous years, you might see the same 5 or 10 guys around, and now it's 5 new guys every half hour.
Heroin addiction is skyrocketing nationwide, but according to the CDC, the largest increase of overdose deaths is here.
And in the old days, it was, bad kids from the wrong side of the tracks. Well, now it encompasses all levels of society. Oh, it's up over 100%. Literally over 100% in the last 4 years.
Utah's relatively low STD rate is now on the rise.
In Salt Lake County, gonorrhea is up 500% from 2010.
In the 8 years Maria DeCaro has been nursing at the Salt Lake County Health Department, she's seen a lot of trends.
We really want to take care of their health,
particularly when it comes to STDs.
But Michelle Corson with Kern Public Health says the numbers on chlamydia and syphilis rates are out of control.
We consider this a public health crisis for our community.
But even more alarming, the continued rise of congenital syphilis.
The Health Organization is expected to hold a press conference on Thursday to address measures they're taking to combat the rapid spread of yellow fever.
Now time for today's focus. And this isn't fiction, this is real. And as mothers, we don't know what will happen to our babies. That the view of one of the first women to have been diagnosed with the Zika virus. Now, the virus continues to spread. It's now in fact in more than 50 countries around the world.
These are the victims of the worst drought to hit Ethiopia in 50 years.
Nevertheless, the scale of this particular crisis, the Ethiopian crisis, the drought, is massive. Because if you look at the number of people in need, and a number that which could increase now.
Ethiopian officials insist the conditions for declaring famine have not been met. The UN says at least 10 million people are in urgent need of aid in Ethiopia.
But first, India is facing one of its worst droughts in decades. It's estimated that roughly a quarter of the population is affected. Now, the parched conditions combined with searing temperatures have caused water shortages and crop failures.
The water level has continuously fallen for the last 6 or 7 years in the Bundelkhand region because it's been receiving below normal rains for 7 to 8 years straight.
Behind me are endless fields of green orchards. Clearly here in the Central Valley, the agricultural landscape is getting plenty of water. But then over here, you have the landscape for what the rest of California looks like for the most part, incredibly brown and dry because of the drought. They get no water.
Turkey has faced a string of terrorist attacks over the past year.
Over there right now is like the last couple years, every day something is happening.
That's why Munzur has decided not to send his 6-year-old daughter Claire and 13-year-old son Justin to visit family in Istanbul.
The disputed territory of Kashmir, the worst violence in years, hasn't kept protesters off the streets.
Violence is rising between police and protesters in Indian-controlled Kashmir. And that ever since, Kashmir, divided between India and Pakistan, remains a perennial fault line, one that has led to 2 wars.
And exactly where are we in America after the aftermath of so much violence? Violence in Texas, violence in Minnesota, and violence in Louisiana.
Developing right now in the south of France, yet another terror attack. This time in Nice, the death toll is staggering. At least 80 have died, more than 100 are injured. A man drove a truck through a crowd.
He was exiting a waterfront hotel when he says he first noticed something was wrong.
They were all screaming and everyone was running in every direction. Seconds later, this giant white van came bolting down this road. It was just taking out people left, right and centre. We began to run because everyone was frantically running because we had no idea what was actually happening.
Attempted coup leading to chaos, death, and instability in Turkey, a key U.S. ally, a major strategic partner in the fight against ISIS.
Troops in camouflage had shut down the iconic bridge over the Bosphorus, which connects the European and Asian sides of Istanbul. A statement by coup organizers declared martial law as tanks took up positions at the entrance to Istanbul's airport, driving alongside cars on highways, jets and helicopters buzzing overhead. Explosions were heard in the 2 biggest cities, Istanbul and...
Today, half the world lives in urban areas, and cities are in many ways the greatest hub of human interaction. Life in a great city can help us to perceive our similarities as far more significant to our differences, re-establishing our consciousness of unity and shared destiny.
If we create an atmosphere of true respect and communication, it will cross religious lines and cultural lines and racial lines and all other lines, and it will be self-evident. And that, in its very being, will help us to address discrimination and bigotry and those elements of our society that stand in the way of understanding.
I've also seen firsthand how local authorities can serve as the front lines in our defense against violent extremism, indeed, extremism of any kind.
Right now at 5, you've heard of virtual reality. Well, now a computer giant is betting on mixed reality.
It's technology that could soon let you play with holographic images in your home.
This Pokemon thing is just baffling, this augmented reality thing. It's really interesting. It's become so popular and distracting that the Vancouver Police Department has actually put out a warning for kids and adults how to play the game safely.
With injuries, beatings, even a stabbing reported in the past 24 hours, it seems the popular video game Pokemon Go has a dark side.
Yeah, there's one like every couple of feet here. It's super distracting.
2 men consumed in the game actually walked off a cliff and had to be hospitalized in Encinitas.
Gene editing or genome editing is now on the horizon with a technique that has recently been perfected. This, like many other areas in assisted reproduction, is highly controversial. And the biggest controversy here surrounds the fact that when this technique is used, it affects or can affect future generations. My own view is that this is a greater risk than anything that's done that might affect one individual, but as science marches forward, it's probably likely in the future that scientists with great abilities and great knowledge will say, this is ready for prime time. Stay tuned.